Yeah, I guess if everybody's ready for pure evil, let's talk about Fox News. Fox News is you know, it is a thing that exists. Your parents probably watch it. I'm sure we all regret that decision at least a little bit. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about fan art. So from Pumpkin Pie, that art when Suris is calling someone a fucking pickle. I don't remember when this happened. I don't remember which stream this is from. But apparently at some point I said, Ara, Ara, you fucking pickle. So, I guess now you have Pickle Suris. It's a thing. I guess you guys also got a free Ara Ara out of that. I wasn't really expecting that. But you know, here we are. Speaking of free, I guess you guys get a free that cursed word. No, you don't get a free that cursed word. No, you don't.
Make me say that cursed word again. Watch what happens.
This is from Pero Wolf, and this is hammers and I like Raz just sitting here with the fucking knife. Stabby, stabby, motherfucker. Say the cursed words. Anyways, as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to show up on an episode, the best way to do so is dropping it into the fan art section of the Discord. And now that you know that, nobody's going to do that. I'm just kidding. You can also use hashtag Necosaurus on Twitter. Those are both options here. Okay, so let's talk about Fox News. Let's talk about actual evil for a second, okay? So, I have a question. If somebody said that they wanted you to go hungry, what would you call them? Would you say that they're a wonderful and motivational speaker, or would you say that they're probably a little bit fucking tainted in the brain? Also, John Fallon, thank you very much for redeeming your point for the oh well. Also, Pika, the Pokemon Unite pros and cons video is going to be our next topic we talk about. Doing that, and then we're talking about memes. So, if that's what you're here for, that's what's coming up next. If you guys are watching over on my main channel, though, you guys won't be seeing that. That's over on the Necosaurus channel. Anyway, back to Fox News. This is a lovely clip, and we're going to watch it, we're going to critique it, and then we're going to come to a conclusion about it. My conclusion when I watched just a little bit of it before deciding to go ahead and throw it up here is that, wow, I don't believe in the concept of evil as outside of it being a measurement device, but I think it applies here, all right.
I'm not an economic professor. If you get $800 a week unemployment benefits, and you live with a partner who also is getting $800 a week unemployment benefits, $1,600 a week, Laura, $83,000 a year for that household in unemployment benefits. The median income in America is only $63,000.
Okay, so hold on. I'm just going to throw this out there right now. We already have a problem with this argument. There's already a problem with this argument. Also, can I just say, with his eyes like this and her... Does it look like she's biting her bottom lip? Does it look like she's sitting there like, tell the poor to starve? Oh, God. Oh, that gets my nipples good. That's the face I see there. Jesus Christ. Anyway, no, what I want to say is, look, to say, oh my God, they're making more than the median income in the United States... You've already kind of thrown that argument out the window. You can't use that argument because you necessarily had to argue that there were two people in this house both earning unemployment. The median income for a single individual does not matter at that point. It really doesn't. Moreover, even if we have unemployment going to people that's over the median income, isn't that just an argument? Like, even if you did not misspeak, and you meant medium income for an actual, like, household of two people, that is what you're trying to argue for. Isn't that just an argument for increasing the median income in the United States? Trying to raise minimum wage and raise incentives at various businesses so that there is a higher wage because of unemployment being so much lower? Like, that feels like an anti-argument in their favor.
We're incentivizing people to stay home. What if we gave that additional unemployment benefits to employers to incentivize people to go to work?
Are you a fucking idiot? I'm sorry, trickle-down economics does not work. We've tried it multiple times. handing that extra money to employers, that does not mean that people are going to actually see that money. Like, people who go to work, when you shove all that money on those businesses, that money does not magically trickle down. That money generally gets stopped well before it gets to the lower level workers. You want to talk about incentivizing people to go back to work? Offer more than unemployment can. Before we continue with the video, I want to go ahead and throw out that fun reminder that we are on YouTube, so if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. It would be an immense help for the channel, and those numbers really do mean a lot. And if you want to catch any of what goes on this channel live, then the best thing you can do is head over to Twitch and hit that follow button over there so you can know when I go live there. Alrighty, I'll stop taking up your time here. Back to the video. Offer more, as opposed to forcing them to make the choice between starvation and work. Trickle-down economics does not work, has not worked, and if it did work, I would be surprised. But we don't live in a world where it does work. Shoving money at corporations does not magically make those corporations pass those savings on to anybody who's not one of their shareholders or top-level managers. The money just does not see or get seen by most of the people that actually make that business run. Like, just handing that money, and just imagine if everybody on unemployment, despite the fact that they might be on unemployment for various reasons, right? One of the reasons you might be on unemployment is because your job fired you when they should not have. They didn't have a proper paper trail. They didn't actually need to fire you. They just did because of some bureaucratic shit. And so now you're on unemployment. And throwing that money at that business does not suddenly make the world better for that worker. That worker just got screwed because you're an idiot, I guess? Yeah, and you're right, Ivana. This is one of the benefits of unionization. I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on the trickle-down economic thing. You can't do the, what if we did this? We've already done it. We've literally, historically, already done that thing that you want us to do. And it didn't work then.
Well, what if we just cut off the unemployment? I mean, hunger is a pretty powerful thing. I don't mean physical hunger, because people who truly are in need help. I'm talking about...
I love that ass coverage. Did anybody else catch that ass coverage there? How about we cut off the unemployment? Hunger's a powerful motivator. I don't mean physical hunger. Oh, whoa. All right, let me just throw this out there right now. If hunger, metaphorical hunger, we're going to get... What you're talking about, I believe, is just physical hunger. But you had to cover your ass, so we're going to use what it seems your argument has goalposted to. Greed. The hunger you're talking about is greed. If greed is what you're talking about, then an individual making $40,000 a year, they will be greedy enough to go make more money. Like that. If greed is your argument, because that's the kind of hunger you're talking about, then they're going to do that regardless. I think the evidence of it is sitting right next to you on that panel, telling people to shove government money at giant corporations that don't fucking need it. That's what I think. Also, thank you very much, Diamond Flawed, for redeeming your points for... Oh, well. Oh, well.
About people who can work, but refuse to work.
How do you tell who can work and refuse to work? Let me tell you guys a story. Okay? Fun story. Because the people who seem to think that they magically have the ability to determine who can and can't work are almost always fucking wrong. Let me give you an example. This is going to be an example utilizing one of my family members who I'm not going to name, because if I do so, that could cause problems. So if they hear the story, then they remember this, that could cause problems as well, because they'll remember who it is. So, Raz has worked many jobs, and routinely health conditions have forced him to stop. We figured that now that she has medical insurance, we might be able to actually have her working because we could start figuring out what the hell's wrong. And all we've found out is that she might just need to be on disability. She might just be legally disabled. We don't know yet. What we do know, though, is that her body is not metabolizing iron. Her body is not retaining its blood count, like hemoglobin count specifically. Those things her body's just not doing. And if your body's not doing those things, you can't engage in physical work. That is a disability. Okay? Now, despite this is newer information. Let's rewind time to 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I was having a conversation with a family member of mine about the possibility that Raz might be disabled. Because we'd seen her go at multiple jobs. And at each one of those jobs, the same thing would happen. A medical complication would land her in the emergency room, and we'd be sitting there having to foot the bill and figure it out. It became easier for me to just be the sole income provider for as long as I could manage, because whether it was me working at a call center, or me working at Aldi, or me doing what I'm doing right now, all of these things were safer. In a perfect world, we would both be able to work. We don't live in a perfect world. Now, when I said that to that family member, they immediately, like a hair trigger, go, they're not disabled. It was an instantaneous thing. It took 0 seconds for them to make that determination. To which I had to respond, are you her doctor? Now, that in a perfect everyone clapped world, that would have shut them down and they would have realized the error of their ways. We don't live in a perfect world. That ended up leading into a family argument that had to get broken up by another family member who happened to be present at the time. The point still stands. You, as not their doctor, do not get to make that determination. However, there are multiple people. This is an anecdote, but there are multiple people, especially the fraudsters over at Fox News, who believe that they can be the arbiters of who is and who is not able to work, and what kind of work they can or cannot engage in. Despite the fact that they do not have medical qualifications. Now, there's a secondary problem, and that is that without universal health care in the United States, being able to even get the diagnoses required to say that you are disabled, for a lot of people is not possible. And then the legal battle that has to happen to actually secure that disability, that unemployment. Many people do not have the wherewithal, the means, or even the knowledge to fucking do it. I have had conversations with people who have had to get on disability, and it was a fight to get them on. And there's reevaluations that happen that try to kick them off of it going forward anyway. And then there's always Republican jackasses who are trying to get them kicked off of it through legislation. Constantly. Because there are people, like these jerk-offs over at Fox News, who believe that they themselves are the arbiters of who, much like this person in my family, believe themselves to be the arbiter of who can and cannot work, who is or is not disabled. Now, despite the terrible track record of a lot of people in the Republican Party and understanding what is being said by medical and scientific experts on things like climate change, on things like mask mandates, on things like COVID vaccines, despite all of that, there are still people who still think that these wonderful paragons of morality are the exact types of people who should be able to determine who is and is not able to work. And, you know, they're perfectly okay with this as well. Remember, just remember, anytime, especially this bitch, says something about work ethic, remember that they straight up advocated for people to starve. I'm sorry, they took that back. They needed people to be more greedy instead. I don't think the argument works either way, though.
But the government is literally putting anvils in many ways on people's shoulders, either through the mandates, regulations, and now through free money, which obviously we're all going to... The piper eventually has to be paid.
Anvils on your shoulders of free money. I have a question. If you are receiving free money, do you consider that an anvil, or do you consider that a weight lifted off your shoulder? If you've got a bill to pay and somebody is fronting the money for you to take on that bill... is the bill the anvil? Is that the monkey on your shoulder? Or is it the money being given to you to take care of it? Is that the monkey on your shoulder? And yes, the piper does have to get paid eventually. You're right.
This is what taxes are. This is what taxes are for. This is what they've always been for. This is what they do.
Literally, yes, the piper has to be paid. We call it taxation. It's this wonderful new concept where some of us take a portion of our money and then hand it over to be utilized for infrastructure. That is a... I know, it is a massively culturally shifted idea that is completely outside the norms of the American social zeitgeist. But yes, the piper does have to be paid. That's what taxes are. That's what they're for. And if a portion of my paycheck has to go to make sure that somebody who can't work can, fine. I'm okay with that. And if a portion of that paycheck might go, like for every 10 people who need it, there's one, quote, welfare queen who doesn't need it. I don't care. That money can go to them too. I literally have zero shits to give about it. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't get to have my taxes taken out in a W-2, where I never see that money, so it never really affects me in the way that people seem to think it does. No, I have to actually calculate my taxes at the end of the year and pay it in a lump sum. Like, I paid $4,000 in taxes this year. And yes, it was with help of viewers, because that's what I do on my job. A portion of my money comes from people who are viewing the channel, and a portion of my money comes from advertisers. That is the nature of what I do as my work. Fact is, $4,000 that I had in my hand had to go to the federal government. I'm okay with that if that money is being given to people who need it, being put towards infrastructure that needs it. And if there's a handful of people, like I said, that get it, that didn't need it, quote unquote, I also just can't give a shit less. I really can't. Because no system is perfect. There will always be cracks for things and people to fall in through. There will always be people who manage to exploit that system, and I do not think the ability for a handful of people to exploit that system for personal gain is enough of a reason for me to rail against that system for lifting people out of fucking starving. Continuing on with Fox News.
John, I want to ask you, though, about this idea of work-life balance. Because, look, no one wants to miss their kids growing up. No one wants to... You stay in the office your whole life. You never see your family. So
I think I know what he does. Look at all the alcohol. No, apparently he works at a bar thing. I don't know. We'll find out.
That's really important. However, have we taken that a step too far when you think of, well, a lot of the millennials talking about, well, I need time for self-care. I don't know why I'm harping on that tonight, but...
Because you're evil? Because you're a bitch? Okay, no, seriously. Let's think about this, okay? The person who just earlier said, why don't we let people starve as a motivational factor, is now asking herself, presumably in good faith, why is it that I'm harping on people who need self-care? Like, no, we do not. I don't think we have to ask ourselves why. Self-care is important. If you don't think it's important, then you've never met somebody who needed therapy. You've never met somebody who was neurodivergent and needed to take time to just unplug. Or you've never met people who just are too stressed from being fucking poor to need that time for themselves. Self-care is a good thing. Your job should not be able to go, yeah, you don't actually need that much self-care. We get to determine that. Fuck you. That's not a thing that we should be okay with. Like, yes, people need to be able to work. Part of being able to work is being able to take care of yourself enough to work. If you can't do that, and the business isn't letting you do that, that's a problem. But let's hear it. Dude's got a smug smile. He's about to say something. I don't want to poison the well. I'm going to assume very stupid.
The whole self-care movement is a little... I mean, my mother's not with us anymore, but she worked from the time she was 12 during the Depression. If she heard the self-care thing, I think her head would explode.
And you think that's a good thing? What? Your mom had to engage in child labor and is now dead. And had to work every hour of that. You think that's a good... How is that an art? And the dude is so fucking smiling about it. How is that... How is... Well, self-care, well, you know, my mom had to engage in child labor. That's your argument? Bitch, put your fucking 10-year-old in a factory. Go ahead. Do it. Do it right now. It's not... Your mom did it. Should be fine for you. This fallacious appeal to tradition. It was fine for your mom. Go ahead. Let your child just be enslaved. It's okay. Your mom did it. Why not them?
You know, I think that's right.
Old
I have
school.
a friend in the military who trains military dogs, Laura, and they only feed a military dog at night because a hungry dog is an obedient dog. Well, if we're not causing people to be hungry to work, then we're providing them with all the meals they need sitting at home.
So you think workers should be like military dogs? Workers should... So this is no longer a metaphorical hunger. This is an actual hunger now. This has moved from the goalpost she kicked it down to just actual that. A hungry animal is, yes, Cinnamon Roll. A hungry animal is a dangerous animal. That's... Starving your animals is animal abuse. It's animal abuse then, it's animal abuse now. Starving your workers is worker abuse. Worker abuse then, worker abuse now. Jon Taffer, I understand that you have 3 brain cells that are desperately trying to create a 4th one, and no combination of brain cell fucking is making that 4th brain cell pop into existence. You may need to rely on quantum physics at this point to get the extra brain cells required to process what I'm about to say. Worker abuse is abuse. Regardless of how you rationalize it, abuse is abuse. And advocating for worker abuse, as you just advocated for a type of animal abuse, does not suddenly make it better. And comparing people to animals, comparing people to starving dogs, I would never want you working as my employer. I do not advocate for physical violence on any individual. But I feel as though if I were in a room with you and you told me that and you were my boss, I would have questions over how I should leave work permanently. Whether it should be by leaving a very sternly written note or communicating by making you feel very hungry. Things like this make me very angry. Again, I do not advocate for hurting your boss. I do not advocate for physical violence. Don't do any of that, ever. But when it's me, and I'm sitting there imagining myself in that scenario, I can imagine a worker feeling like, no, it's time to punch the guy. It's time to punch the guy. I can understand where that thought process comes from. Because this is somebody who's literally advocating for a form of violence against you. Starving you is a form of violence. Is a form of abuse. Yeah, walking out while giving the double bird is probably what I would do. Because again, I've never assaulted somebody at work. And I don't plan on ever doing that in my life. But I never want to meet this individual. I never want to at all. How does Jon Taffer treat his bar workers? I don't know, but I don't think I can only guess. But apparently dude's worth $15 million, so we know where he gets his perspective from. I wonder, does he have to be starved to work? Does his motivation not come from starving? I mean, if he's worth $15 million, how much starving do you think he actually engages in to motivate himself to work? None? Probably none. More than likely none.
I'm completely with you, Laura. These benefits make absolutely no sense to us. And on top of the impact of not getting employees and not being able to run our businesses, in my industry, we have meat prices are up 10%, chicken prices are up 15%.
No, inflation is killing. Is going to kill business. I mean, that's the next shoe to drop. The Democrats.
Wait, what is killing business?
Industry, we have meat prices are up 10%, chicken prices are up 15%.
No, inflation is killing. Is going to kill business. I mean.
Yeah, but you can't avoid that inflation. That inflation's happening no matter what. That inflation, and it's not because of Democrats. Inflation was already happening. Inflation was going to continue happening. Now, I don't know how many times I have to say it. I do not advocate for violence, but I can understand that perspective when I hear stuff like this. When this is the type of thought process that comes from your employer, I can understand where things like guillotine memes come from. I don't want those in my chat. I don't want those in my comment section. But I know the mentality, I know where it's coming from, and I can empathize with it. I can. When the rich are literally saying they need to starve you to motivate you to come back and get abused more by them, I cannot fathom being told that in reality, and not through the filter of a video that I can pause at any point, that I can reasonably be away from when I'm giving my perspective. The lady, that's Laura Ingraham. That's who she is. That's Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham and Jon Taffer. Yeah, if you're being abused at work, secure yourself, document others, report it. Also, I highly suggest, if you are living in a one-party state, granted, these are things that are being said, out in public on Fox News because it's Fox News. But if you think that you might actually suffer workplace abuse of some kind, please record those instances. I did not do that in time when I was working at Walmart, and I only just... The story of Walmart, I'll get into it very briefly. There was one manager who worked as a ZMS in the back room, and I worked as Department 82. Department 82 handled the clip strips around Walmart, and they also handled the seasonal items, and they handled the items at the cash register. This person was the ZMS over binning. They were the manager over the people who handled the inventory in the back, and Department 82 was the biggest nightmare for inventory, period, because it only had one person working in it, but they had to work the entire square footage of the store, whereas other employees did not have to do that. And of course, Laura Ingraham's salary is $15 million a year. Just fucking... It's Fox News. It's millionaires telling poor people how to eat. It's dumb. He got promoted to... I don't remember which kind of manager it was. Over ZMS. Department manager's under ZMS. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The mechanics of Walmart doesn't matter. When he got promoted, we had this rotational system at my Walmart, where if you were manager of the front end, you would be manager of the front end for 3 to 6 months, and then you would rotate to be manager somewhere else. Your schedule would change. You'd rotate completely. This person didn't like me when they were closer to my pay grade, and then when they got severely above me, I started getting workplace abuse. One of the instances of this was getting... Walmart has this system called the D-Day system. When you are getting documented, you get a verbal warning, then you get a written warning, and then you get sent on what's called your D-Day, where you've done all your strike, you're on your third strike. They make you go home, write an essay about why you are wrong, why Walmart is not accountable for the things that you did, and why they should allow you to continue working. And then you have one strike left, and then you're fired. The D-Day thing basically allows them to fight unemployment against you because they have documented evidence that you said that it's not Walmart's fault, which lets them fight unemployment much better. I had never gotten in trouble until this person became my manager. And when they did, they started slowly sliding me down this, bringing me in for verbal confrontations, bringing me in. The one instance that sticks out in my mind was seasonal time. We were pulling down items for the fall. So I was grabbing all the Halloween candy out of the gardening department, which is where we held it all. I pulled it down. Hold on. I need to... Terror coming in. Terror's horny. Terror's always horny. Anyway, point is, what ended up happening was I pulled down a pallet, and the rules are when you pull down a pallet, you have to secure its corners. If the items on the pallet are not above knee height, you have to secure the corners, or you have to secure the pallet by putting on top of it. So what we were told to do was either put a shopping cart or an L cart on top of the pallet so that a customer would not run into it. I'd gotten the pallet down, got everything I needed off of it, and then secured the pallet so that I could go get a pallet jack and take care of it. In the time it took me to go get the pallet jack, apparently the L cart had been taken off, and I was told that I needed to go to the office and talk to a manager. So I pulled that pallet to the back, talked to the manager, and he told me that I had not secured my pallet. And I said, yes, I did. And he says, no, and because you didn't secure your pallet, you are going to be getting reprimanded. The rules at Walmart there also is they had a witness system where they had to have another manager witness this. So the manager from the home department, I can't remember what it's called. The department where you get cooking supplies from. They were there presiding over this scolding. And this was the scolding that led to me being one step away from D-Day. So he had gave me a written warning for not securing my pallet, and I asked him, can I see the cameras? Can I please look at the cameras to see what happened? Because my thought was, if a customer pulled this off, the cameras will at least show evidence that I secured my pallet. It's not my fault that a customer removed my thing that secured the pallet. I was told no, I could not see the cameras. When I asked why, he said, well, it's none of my business what's on the cameras. There are cameras in the gardening department. You can see what happened there. To this day, I believe that he moved the cart off of the pallet, waited there, and then said, hey, go ahead and deposit your pallet, and then we'll talk in the office, because of whatever grudge he still held on me from when he was ZMS previously. That's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but because I was never allowed to see the actual footage of what happened, I'm to this day convinced that I got fucked there. And the other manager that was there watching the proceedings, because they can't actually intervene, they can just watch. He also chose a manager who was under him as his subordinate as well, so it fulfilled the legal requirements without them being able to fight back. But that manager told me that what was happening to me was bullshit too. So, just pointing out, I can understand the perspective, because I've been there where you're just being stuck, suffering through workplace abuse, and you can't do anything about it. It was my only income. What was I going to do? Like, what options did I have? I had zero. And it was after that point that I started recording any time that I had a conversation with a manager. I had a recording pen. I started making sure to record when I was having those conversations. I should have been doing it sooner, but that was the instance that taught me to do that. But, point is, I wanted to give that story so I can give some perspective of what it's like to actually have that kind of workplace abuse happen to you, and why I do understand that perspective. I get it. I don't agree with attacking people, but I can understand feeling like you have no other choice. I can. That said, Walmart is the worst place anything can possibly work. They are one of them, yes. That said, if you want to support my channel and what I do, there are ways to do so in the description below. You know what to do. As always, everyone, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow over on Twitch if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, insert end the video tagline here.